Hello friendos, it's Bella from the Bookish Badger, and today I'm coming at you guys with my 2020 Reading Rush TBR. For those of you who don't know, the Reading Rush is an annual readathon that takes place usually in August, July of every year. It used to be the Booktubeathon, it is now the Reading Rush to be more inclusive towards the entire bookternet and not just Booktube, and it's so much fun. Like, thousands of people participate every year. It's this huge community-wide event, and it fosters a lot of belonging and a lot of just reading fun. I myself have been participating for the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. I think 3 years is right, and it's like my favorite readathon of the year because it is such a big community-wide event. So as every year there are 7 challenges, and I always try to make it my personal goal to read 1 book for each challenge. Some people do it differently, and that's okay too. I don't think ever read the 7 books in the week that it takes place, but you know what? That's not gonna stop me from trying. So without further ado, let's get into the prompts, the challenges, and my to-read list for them. I feel like this year I am making a bigger effort, a bigger push than I ever have in the past to make my reading list very manageable for me, because I know that I'm gonna be working and I'm not gonna be able to dedicate the whole 24 hours of all of the 7 days to reading and to the Reading Rush, so I'm doing what I can to make it a little easier for me this time. So instead of doing all or mostly physical books like I have in the past, I am going to do a better mixture of physical books and audiobooks and e-graphic novels on an app that is provided through my library on my cellular device. The first challenge is to read a book with a cover that matches the color of your birthstone, and I am a May baby, so my birthstone is emerald, which I think is a very pretty color, personally. And I will be reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one I will be listening to on audiobook, therefore I have the inability to hold it up and show you, and I also have the inability to insert a picture because Windows Movie Maker is not a nice editing program. Now, I have read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I listened to it on audiobook last year and it was my favorite book of 2019, so I have high hopes for Evelyn Hugo. And I know that Evelyn Hugo is supposed to be another one that is very good on audiobook because Daisy Jones and the Six was sort of like a behind the music type of thing, and you could hear all of like the band members talking to the interviewer and things like that. And I believe that Evelyn Hugo has the same vibes. I think she's maybe talking to a biographer, question mark. I know that it's supposed to be very good, and I know that a whole lot of people love it, and I know that I already loved another book by this author, and I know that it's got a big ol' emerald cover because of her dress and the background. So there you go. Prompt number 2 is to read a book that starts with the word the, and for that I'm going to be reading The Backstagers, Rebels Without Applause by James Tynion IV. This is going to be one of my e-graphic novels, and from what I know of it, I believe it's about a kid that moves to a new town, or at least to a different high school, and he's sort of a misfit, so he joins the club that's basically the band of misfits, and it is the backstage crew for their theater performance. I am a theater kid, I love theater, I've been in a lot of shows, and I've also done stage crew for a couple of shows, so I'm really interested to read a graphic novel that has those sort of theater and crew vibes. So prompt number 3 is to read a book that inspired a movie that you've already seen, and for this I'm going to go with Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. I'm going to be audiobooking this one. I didn't realize like how short it was. When I got in the audiobook, I realized that it was only like 2 or 3, I think 3 hours long, and I was like, uh-oh, did I get the abridged version? So I checked, and I did not. It was the unabridged version, so I looked on Goodreads, and the page number was like, it was like 150 pages or something, even lower than that maybe? I don't know. It's very short. It's way shorter than I thought, so I was like, oh, perfect, because this is also one of the few movies where I did not read the book first that I have seen the movie of, because I'm one of those like book to movie purists that's like, oh no, I want to see the book. Yeah, I want to see the book. I want to read the book before I see the movie. Which I know is super annoying, because it's annoying to me even because I miss out on seeing a bunch of movies that I want to see because I don't get to the book for a very long time. However, I did see this movie first. I want to say I saw it like 5 years ago. It was just like with my family. My parents were like, hey, this is a really good movie, you guys should watch it. So we were like, okay, and we all watched it together. It was very good. Made me cry a whole biggity bunch. And you know what? The only thing that I can hope is that the book is that same caliber of like hit you in the gut emotions. So I'm hoping it will be. Prompt number 4 is to read the first book you touch. And this is the one that I think I had the most trouble with because I wasn't sure how I wanted to approach it, but I think I figured it out. So I have 2 options for this prompt. The first one is Please Don't Go Before I Get Better by Madison Kahn. And my second option is The Perfumery, originally by Miklos Laszlo, adapted by E.P. Dowell. So Please Don't Go Before I Get Better is a poetry book, and The Perfumery is a play. Oh no, it fell. I don't know much about this one other than it's a modern poetry book, but what I do know about The Perfumery is that it is like the original version of this story, because this story was then adapted into the movie with Jimmy Stewart called The Shop Around the Corner. It's a classic Christmas movie. It's probably one of my favorite Christmas movies and stories, and later adaptations include the more modern things like You've Got Mail, which is probably better known. Now, I think what I am going to do for this challenge is I want to vlog the Reading Rush. I'm not going to do daily vlogs. Don't get your hopes up there. It's not happening. But I do want to do a week-long vlog, I think, and I think I'll probably pick which one of these I want to read. It will most likely be later in the week. I want to sort of see how I'm doing as far as, you know, being on top of things goes, and see what sort of reading mood I'm in, if I'm in the mood for a poetry book or if I'm in the mood for something like a play. A play might be cool because I don't have anything else like that on my TBR, but this poetry book is something that I've been wanting to read for a while as well, so I'm not sure yet. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna vlog it, and I'm probably gonna, you know, lay them out on the bed and then go boop, I want to do that one. Prompt number 5 is to read a book completely outside of your house. And I know this one had some controversy surrounding it, but it's not really a problem for me because I have parks that I can go to where social distancing is super easy and I can wear a mask and everything like that. Or I could just read on my porch. And I am very grateful and lucky to have a porch where I have that capability. And I will be reading The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. Now, The Poet X is, I think, the first Elizabeth Acevedo book that I ever heard of, but I never did end up picking it up. But just last week, I finished the audiobook for With the Fire on High, which is another book by her, and oh my gosh, I loved it. I think it's my favorite book of the year so far. So adored it. So I am super stoked at the prospect of reading this for the Reading Rush. I honestly can't decide if I'm the most excited for this or for The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but either way, I'm feeling like I've got some really good picks so far, and I'm riding high on that. Prompt number 6 is to read a book in a genre that you want to read more of. And this one's gonna be a little bit weird, but bear with me here. So I picked for this prompt Looking for Alaska by John Green. Now, if you watch my channel, I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, hey Bella, you seem to read a fair amount of young adult contemporary. Why are you saying you want to read more of it? I'm not saying I want to read more of that. I'm considering John Green his own genre here. I think he has enough books. I think his style is weird enough to separate him, so I'm gonna consider it that. Now, another weird thing about it is I'm actually not sure if I've ever talked about it on my channel, but I have read 2 John Green books, neither of which I liked. I read The Fault in Our Stars around when it came out because my friend loved it and she lent it to me, and I was pretty meh on it. And then I read Paper Towns for a book to movie club that I was in at the time. Also, was not a fan of. So now you may be thinking, okay Bella, so you say John Green is his own genre? That's a stretch, whatever. But why do you want to read more of him if you haven't liked either of the books that he's written before? And I have 2 answers for this. The first one is that I really want to like John Green. like, I haven't liked either of his books, but he's an author that I really wish that I liked. Do you ever have a food like that? Like, you've tried this food a bunch before, you know you don't like it, but you're like, maybe this time I like it, and you try it again, and maybe you still don't, or maybe you have changed. So maybe I'm gonna try. And the second reason is because Looking for Alaska specifically is on my Great American Read PBS list, which I am trying to read my way through. This book is on there, so I figured, hey, in the midst of the reading rush, why don't I read another book that is on that list? So that's my reasoning for putting this here. And finally, challenge number 7 is to read a book that takes place on a different continent than the continent where you live. So I will be reading A Girl in the Himalayas by Hey-Zeus Pignoli, and I know nothing about this except for the fact that it is a graphic novel, and the cover is really cute, which is pretty much my criteria for wanting to read graphic novels, and I think it's got magic involved, and it takes place in the Himalayas, which of course is in Asia, which is not in North America, and North America is where I live, so bada bing bada boom, as it were. So there you have it. That is my 2020 Reading Rush TBR. I would love to hear from you guys if you've read any of the books on my TBR. If you haven't, if you want to, if you did, if you liked them, or if you didn't, if you're taking part in the Reading Rush, if you're not, what your plans are for the Reading Rush, what books you're gonna read, if you're gonna vlog, if you're gonna do any sorts of Instagram challenges or sprints, I don't know, any of it, all of it, please let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, do not hesitate to give it a thumbs up. Do not hesitate to subscribe for more content coming soon, and I will see you in the next video. Bookish Badger, signing off.